This is the 21st season of Bass Talk Live. BTL is presented by Bass Cat Boats, Strike King Lures, AFTCO, Pro Guide Batteries, Spro, Gamakatsu, The Bass Tank, Denali Rods, Beatdown Outdoors, and Sunline.
BTL coming at you.
Good morning and welcome to another exciting edition of BTL Bass Talk Live, where we are going to talk about bass fishing. And I have Todd Ceisner from In-Fisherman sitting across from me. He's been on the show, what, 2-3 times now?
2-3 times, but never here in the mothership office.
I wouldn't call this a mothership office. You got to get closer to the mic.
Matt,
you got to get like uncomfortably close to it, or else people will be like, we can't hear Todd. And then I have to go through and edit it and then like do all the volume spikes.
I'm not here to, pump your brakes, but I've been in some cool rooms in my day in this industry. But this is one of the coolest rooms I've been in. I'm not just saying that because you let me have the run of your place.
You're impressed by all my Bass Nation participation plaques that are on the wall?
Exactly. Yes. Yeah. So very cool. Thanks for having me. It's a pleasure.
Thanks
to be
for
here.
coming in. So, I didn't really talk about it beforehand. We'll talk a little bit about it. I think we'll do a full show about it. I competed in the Pan America Games, Lake Cuchillo, Mexico. And originally, I think we were supposed to leave I towed my boat and truck down there. Like, it kind of dawned on me as we were passing Falcon Lake, and there was like, hey, like, yeah, guys aren't really fishing that much on the Mexico side of Falcon Lake right now.
Right.
And then we drove 45 minutes past Falcon Lake, crossed into the border, and then had an escort 2.5 hours into Mexico with all of our trucks and boats, where I was like, okay, this is a once in a lifetime deal.
Yeah. A little different than a day at Grand, huh?
Yeah. But anyway, it took us 6.5 hours, and we're going to do a whole show on this and have Andrew and some of the guys from Team USA, Mark, the president of it from US Angling, on and talk about the whole thing, because I really don't think, well, I mean, it also helps, like, after you like win one, you're like, oh yeah, let's just pump this thing up now. It's a big deal.
Right.
But took 6.5 hours to get through the border to get down to Mexico, just our 5 teams. And we had a Ranger escort all the way down there. Accommodations fantastic.
Right.
China, the town, spelled like China, very accommodating, felt really safe. The lake is amazing. They had all sorts of fisheries biologists. It was cool to see all the other countries. I've got like Team Colombia hat, Mexico hat, Puerto Rico, South Africa, Canada. Like one of the Canada guys had a BTL shirt.
Really?
Yeah, no, it was super cool.
And that's at a completely different part of Mexico than I think what we're typically used to, right? With Picachos.
It's like on the
opposite
on the
west
side
right?
of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You crossed what, Laredo, and kind of went south, and that's
no, we crossed an hour and 20 minutes south of Laredo.
Oh, even further. Okay.
Yeah, like we went past Falcon another 40 minutes to cross.
Gotcha.
Well,
definitely a cool experience, man. I'm sure.
Yeah, but anyway, on the way back,
still soaking in probably.
They like do like a bounty on your truck. So they put like $400 on your card, and then you have to stop, and they have like a disposable camera, a cell phone. They take pictures of it, then they x-ray it. They go through anyway, the whole process took like 2.5 hours. We didn't leave till 9:30. We crossed with Canada and South Africa. I think South Africa was there. I don't know. They might have peeled off or gotten stuck. And I called you because we're going to talk about, we're going on a frog hunt tonight in Arkansas with Bass Fishing Hall of Fame member Steve Bowman.
Yeah, when we were making up the list of things to talk about on the show, there was like 9 headlines here that we could have started with, right?
But you were at the airport at 6:30, and I was like, dude, I'm in Austin, Texas, Boomer Sooner. And so you had to Uber to Shawnee, America.
Right. Yeah. But we're fishermen. We adjust on the fly. It's all good. Yeah.
Told you how to get into the house, turn the alarm system off, all that. So
yeah, if anybody needs Matt's garage code, let me know. I got it in my phone.
Yeah. So. Pete's on here. He said you stole my frog hunt. We did steal Pete's frog hunt. But
let's go back to that. So I will never forget that night at the auction, the live auction at the banquet. And you and I had made a decision that we were going to pursue this trip with our fellow Hall of Fame board member, Mr. Steve Bowman. And, we kind of set a soft ceiling, right, that we wouldn't exceed in the bidding. Well, it blew right past that, and I think you and I continued the conversation across the room, like, "Hey, when are we still in? We out?" And I'll never forget, you said, I think I have the text from you. You said, "No, dude, we're still in. This is still a great value," which I don't think anybody would ever, ever really ascertain the value of a frog hunt in the nowheres of Arkansas. But we're about to find out.
If you don't have the skill set for it,
exactly,
right? But you have the desire to do it, therein lies the value.
Yeah,
it's like a guided fishing trip, and it's a private frog hunt on one of the few weekends we can do it with a Hall of Famer.
And I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm totally green. Never done this before.
No, I have. Are we grabbing? Are we gigging? Are we shooting? Are we netting? What's the?
Talking to Steve, I think it'll be a rod and reel would probably be the first option, and then we might just get medieval on them. It sounds like.
I don't know what the regulations are. I know I was kind of looking it up. I know we got to have fishing licenses and maybe some other permits or whatever. And then there's certain methods for ethically taking. The amphibia, they're amphibians,
and
right?
I think shirts and pants and shirts are optional, from what I understand.
I don't do snakes. That's my only thing.
Same here.
I'm afraid to tell Steve that I don't do snakes because I think that he would make sure that there's a snake involved in the experience if we did it.
On the down
but no, what we did was we bid for Bass Fishing Hall of Fame auction. You guys have done a really good job of bidding on that. I know Epic Eric and Frank Scalish and Jesus Jigs and stuff have put that items in that auction before. A lot of that money goes to maintenance and building new displays in the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. There's just a new kind of wing that opened thanks to Johnny. So now if you go to that facility in Missouri,
it's just a better visitor.
You have to walk through the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame to get through the aquarium now.
There's no dead end to it anymore. They knocked out a wall, made a doorway, and gave us more space to put up more artifacts and displays. And now it's anybody who visits WOW there, Wonders of Wildlife, they've got to go through the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame and hopefully get stuck there for an hour just looking at
and then Gene Gilliland and the guys on the conservation side do a great job. I know we're kind of right in the middle of grant and scholarship season and then announcing that. So a lot of that money from the auction also goes to habitats, projects for bass fishing enrichment around the country. We have a lot of clubs, a lot of chapters that do that, and then also scholarships for educational purposes for people who are specifically going into fisheries biology with a focus on bass fishing.
And that's probably the most fulfilling and exciting part about being involved with the board is I think this is probably my 4th or 5th year now, and through the proceeds we've been able to generate through the auction, not just the banquet, but the ones we hold in the spring, the corporate support we get, it's amazing. Now we're able to give a lot of money back into the sport, like you said, through these conservation projects, scholarships now for young people that are wanting to pursue a career in the field of fisheries biology or related studies. It makes you feel like the work you're doing matters.
While we're on the Hall of Fame, and we'll get back to it, I do want to note Thursday morning, 8:30 a.m. live. It is day 4 with Frank Scalish. If you are a listener of day 4, if you know it,
avid,
you want to tune in for this. It was announced on May 30th that Frank Scalish is one of 10 inductees into the inaugural class of the Ohio Bass Fishing Hall of Fame.
There you go. Way to go, Frank.
So really excited for Frank. If you're listening to this and it's not Thursday, Frank doesn't do Facebook, just like I don't do Facebook, but he does do Instagram. So flood his inbox with congratulatory messages, tag him in posts, all that. And we're going to open up the show, put a direct link for all of the viewers and listeners at day 4 to call in and congratulate Frank. Well deserved. The Ohio Bass Fishing Hall of Fame announces the inaugural class. Now,
do we know where the Ohio Bass Fishing Hall of Fame is located?
That would be,
I'm thinking Sand.
The inductees will be honored at a pre-tournament dinner at the Moransky Company's Bass Classic. I don't know. Is there a place?
I don't know. We'll find out. Either way, props to Frank.
Yeah. He said Frank Cleveland Heights qualified twice for the Classic. 2001, 2002 Bassmaster Rookie of the Year. 2009 Bassmaster Opens Angler of the Year. And he is also obviously lure designer and wildlife illustrator. So I don't see where it is, but yeah, so he'll be honored with that. So we had actually, in one of my very few, can I say that's my show? I can say it. Foo bars on BTL. We did an entire show where we announced that he got inducted into the Ohio Bass Fishing Hall of Fame live on air for a couple hundred listeners, and then realized with 5 minutes left in the show that that was highly confidential information that was not supposed to be out for 2 months.
The dreaded embargo.
So I had to go through and immediately make the day 4 private and then hack all of the talk about it out, because we realized it on the show, and we were like, I think we just screwed up big time, because we had like a big congratulatory thing. We listed the other 9 people who made the Hall of Fame.
May or may not have been aware at that point,
and
right?
No, they weren't. And so it was a fiasco, but now I think I need to take that 10-minute clip where we realized that we really just kind of screwed up big time and play it back in hindsight now that it's fully announced.
Oh, that's good stuff.
What in your opinion is the importance of Hall of Fames in not only bass fishing, not only sports, but in bass fishing in particular? Because I think it's an interesting thing that is, the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame is old, but also fairly new. It's not like we've had this thing since the 70s.
Right. So, much like you, I come from a traditional sports background, basketball, baseball, hockey, football. I've been to Canton a couple of times. I've been to Toronto to the Hockey Hall of Fame. I've been to Cooperstown. In a previous life, actually, from a media perspective, covered Hall of Fame inductions. It's all about the recognition, right? Recognizing one's contributions and achievements over a career, whether on the playing field or on the sidelines or in a boardroom or in the lab or, what have you, as it relates to bass fishing. But, and that's what it all boils down to is the recognition that, you bestow upon these folks, and then that lives on kind of in eternity. And that's what we're trying to establish here with the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame. I know, at least during my involvement, there's been significant effort and discussion about, the criteria, what makes a Hall of Famer in this particular space, the bass fishing world. And it's, it's a hot topic. It's a debate. And that's, conversation's always good. 2-3 sides of a conversation are always, I think, productive. And eventually we wind up, seeing each other's sides more clearer, and that just informs us better when we actually get down to making the decisions, or the voting, panel makes the decisions. But yeah, it shouldn't be easy to get in, right? Mm-hmm. For the longest time, it was in baseball, 500 home runs, 3,000 strikeouts, 300 wins. That was your ticket in. And obviously the game has changed, and, maybe those benchmarks aren't as lofty anymore. And, we don't really have that in bass fishing, right? Like, you got to win 2 classics, or you got to win 3 AOIs and you're automatically in. There's a longevity piece to it. There's a, widespread impact element to it. Yes, in bass fishing, you have to play in the manufacturing and the marketing part of it, how, engaging and recognizable an individual maybe has been over the course of her career. But no, I think it's extremely important. And the fact that, we have that brick and mortar space in Springfield within, the Wonders of Wildlife, which is attached to the Bass Pro Shops mothership store, just gives it, I think, even more impact and significance. So that's, I think, the really key part is to have a physical place that people can go visit and see the history of the sport and walk through it. So,
do you think that history in bass fishing is one of the most under archived? If you were to take it like any sport, like, do you think that there is a gross lack of archival information and history?
Oh, for sure.
Fishing?
Yeah. Just before we went on the air, you were kind of showing me some of your treasures here on your, part of your set.
You see that see the gold medal?
I did. Yeah.
See there's 2 gold medals.
You have it
there.
turned so it's not blinding me, so which is appreciated. Oh my goodness. Look how bright that is.
Look how shiny it is there.
But like, you walk through Cooperstown or the Hockey Hall of Fame, and there's, pucks, sticks, gloves, bats, hats, that guys wore in those moments, right? Those signature moments that we all remember from watching those sports. But like in fishing, we got a little bit of it, but there's so much more out there, right? And the Hall of Fame should be the place where you would want that to be displayed,
Why is that not in that? And is it because it's not big enough? It's not an interest. Like, I mean, there's no one that is a full-time employee of the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame, like everything on the board, all that volunteer work.
Yeah, we should. I mean, maybe it's something we discuss is having a more active curator or aggregator, cataloger, if that's,
So are you saying like, so like in baseball, if there's a historic moment that's going down, like let's say, some guy, has a chance to steal the all-time record base or something. Is there someone like from the Hall of Fame that's there that makes sure that they get that base and take it back so that it goes into the Hall of Fame? Their job is to get the artifacts, home run balls, bats, perfect game, like that type of stuff. Hats, jerseys, like that's their job, is to go around and collect these things, take it back, archive it, authenticate it.
Even nowadays, if you watch, like, when a historical moment happens in baseball, there's literally a person that sits right behind home plate with like basically an authenticator, like, a ball will get rolled over to him. He'll, print out a label, stamp it on there, and it goes in the bag and gets set aside and, to be sent off to wherever. But like, the image that runs through my mind right now is like Ricky Henderson when he broke Lou Brock's all-time stolen base record. He literally yanked third base out of the ground and held it over his head. Like, I promise you, at some point that base is in Cooperstown, right? That physical base that was, pulled from the plug there.
So, like in a perfect world, and we'll just use this as an example.
Sure.
So this Lake Fork tournament, obviously, Paul Elias's 132.8 from Falcon Lake on the Mans and the Big Worm and all that, which may or may not know the person who has that.
Sure.
There would be someone that is paying attention to that on Lake Fork, and they're looking at Koya Fujita after 3 days, who had 100 pounds, 10 ounces, realizing, hey, this record is about to go down. We need to be there. We need to get the bait or the jersey or the rod and reel or something like that goes back, the way slip that goes back to the Hall of Fame.
And maybe we need to do a better job of engaging with even the current angling community at the pro level. Be like, hey, from the Hall of Fame, can we borrow that reel for a year?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And put it on a display, make a placard, put it in the Hall of Fame, say, this reel is the reel that, he used to achieve this at this lake. And then a year goes by, gets it back, whatever, and just we have a rotating sort of display of those current artifacts, which is, I think, a really great idea, actually.
Because I think one of the things that, covering the sport for so many years on a daily basis, one of the hurdles that MLF is doing a nice job of working with, but that I don't think was taken into account in 2019, 2020, 2021, when there's a backlash for it, was it is very hard to establish significance and importance without historical reference.
Right.
So when you've got the guys that are, winning the first one or winning that one, like the reason why Red Crest wasn't and isn't the classic is because you can't go back to that first classic, on Lake Mead up in the air where they opened, where Ray Scott opened up the letter. And then you have all that history that goes for it, which is what makes that the same reason for the World Series, the same reason for the Super Bowl, the same reason for, the Stanley Cup. It's not that they're winning the cup. It's like they're winning the same cup that like Maurice Richard lifted over his head, and Mario Lemieux and Wayne Gretzky and things like that. Like, there's so much importance on history that I think is assumed, but there has to be someone that gets that history, that makes it relevant, that shows the importance, that puts it into a way that can be consumed and understood, that builds the sport.
Right. I mean, we all love to see, records broken, records set, and then as fishermen, we all geek out on the tackle, and whether, like you said, it was Elias's crankbait or
a KVD
even,
6XD
or even something that didn't break a record, but like the Alabama rig, those rigs that were used at Gunnersville back in whenever that phenomenon took off. It was earlier than that. 13, 14?
No, it was October of 2011.
Yeah. But like when
God,
Andy
I have no
Boss was
life,
like
do I?
selling A-rigs in the parking lot, right?
Yeah.
Like somebody's got one of those originals laying around, like something like that. As much, as a controversial issue as that was, like still
an original, our Rad Lewis, Ronnie
still
Davis,
a push pin on the timeline. Yeah, it's all about the building those push pins on the timeline of the sport. So
it's a cool discussion, but I mean, it takes time, money. It's a labor of love for the most part, and it's something that I think I know Todd Hamill and the guys who work on that. What is that committee? The Hall of Fame Artifacts Committee, or
facilities.
The facility committee work really hard on that, and it is badass.
And not to take away what's already in there. Like there's some really, really cool historical pieces there already, like that head and frog, which is has incredible value to it. All those old reels. I know some of the Hall of Famers whose displays are in that new island center or trophy case have some some valuable things in it, but like I want to go beyond the Wheaties boxes, right, that were easily readily available. Like,
what are you talking about? That's a one of a kind.
No, I know, but you know what I mean, like the one of one, like these baits that were the baits that were used. Yes, they probably hang on a shelf in their office or their homes, but let us borrow it and show it to the world for a year or so.
Yeah. We just kind of talk about that too. So the induction ceremony this year is the 25th anniversary of the Bass Fishing Hall of Fame induction ceremony. That's September 25th, 2025 at WOW. Are there still general public tickets available for that? Or
I believe so. Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, if you just
there's been a lot of BTL listeners. I've met them every year that were like, dude, I'm so glad we heard about this. Like, we had no idea that you could buy tickets. They're like $100.
I think it's $100 or $125 get you in the room that night.
Yeah. Are all the tables sold? I should just buy a BTL table. That way I don't have to mooch off of it. And then I could do like a giveaway to give some tickets to some listeners.
Yeah.
That would be interesting.
Sounds like you just spent some of your money.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we did just won medals. We didn't win any money at the Pan Am Games.
Yeah, you actually pay to play, huh?
Yeah, it actually
cost you
pay to play.
But no, definitely. I know there's tickets still available. I believe there's still some tables available. So if you want to get a group together and 8 or 10 people and go in on a table and then get you in the room, and it's become one of those nights on the calendar of the fishing world that you kind of need to be there. Yeah. It's such a cool scene.
All the blue jackets, the guys who have been in the Hall of Fame have the blue jackets. Randy Hopper, Craig Lamb, and William Shakespeare Jr., the 3 inductees in 2025.
Who I've come to just refer to as Billy Shakes.
Billy Shakes.
It's way easier to say. Yeah, Billy Shakes. So.
I think that was long overdue for him to get.
Oh, without a doubt.
That's the hardest part. We just had a conversation about this off air. You mentioned it a couple minutes ago. Is how do you categorize? I mean, how do you do innovators from 100 years ago that are now integral parts that everyone just takes for granted in bass fishing versus, someone who's been around for 20 years versus an angler versus like a Craig Lamb who we've had on the show to talk about before, who's in the media and the industry, worked for bass, all sorts of different things.
Well, in my understanding is Shakespeare was inducted on his first year on the ballot. So the ballot is only as good as the names and the bios, the descriptions that we have kind of on the master list. And anyone listening today or anyone out there is free to nominate someone that they believe is worthy of consideration. We have a little bit of a process to it, but we need a pretty complete kind of a bio and background on the person, just describing why you feel they are worthy of consideration. And, if they if it's passes muster, then they get added to the master list. And then when that committee meets, they review all the names on that list, and then it goes forward. So, I mean, we don't have a complete exhaustive list of anybody who's anybody ever in the sport, in the realm of fishing that deserves consideration, just because we're only as good as, you know, the names that we've accumulated thus far. So, yeah, if there's other people out there that y'all believe are worthy, please, by all means, let us know.
Bassfishinghof.com for the contact there. And then after this process kind of goes through in September, there'll actually be a nomination form that you can download off of the site, fill it out, submit it, and turn it back in.
You can even nominate tomorrow if you want to. I think the form is still on the website. You know, we're just not actively soliciting nominations right now, but if you want to get a head start, by all means.
We're going to take our first break of the show. When we come back, more with Todd Ceisner. We have a bunch to get into today, live show, and then we got to drive to Arkansas after this. I still have to unhook the boat. I literally drove all night, got in at 6:30, 7 a.m., recorded Best on Tour this week.
Yeah, you hit the ground running
today, and then boom. So it's BTL live in studio. Todd Ceisner from In-Fisherman, publisher of In-Fisherman. We'll be back right after this. Pro Bass Adventures is reinventing Mexico bass fishing. With boats equipped with 12-inch Garmin units and LiveScope Plus, free loaner fishing rods, and no-cost airport transportation, Pro Bass Adventures is proudly putting you in the best position for success. Pro Bass Adventures has lodges on Lake Baccarat and Lake El Salto, Mexico's two best trophy largemouth bass lakes. Visit probassadventures.com or email probassadventures@gmail.com. The official Mexico fishing lodge of Bass Talk Live.
The new Puma STS has been redesigned from the ground up. With the angler, design, function, and performance in mind, nothing on this new offering was compromised, and the only thing carried over from the previous version is the name. Based on the Soft Touch series hull that started with the flagship Jaguar, this new model is nimble and performs incredibly well at all speeds with either a 250 or 300 horsepower engine. Featuring a new 96-inch wide-body footprint, this hull measures out at 20 foot 7 inches in length. Industry-leading design coupled with tournament-winning performance. The Puma STS from Basscat. Feel the rush.
This is Gamakatsu's new Nano Alpha line of hooks. If it looks familiar, that's because they are. It's the same shapes and sizes in the round bend and the EWG and in the new Horizon head that you know and love from Gamakatsu, but there are a couple new features with this Nano Alpha, which is this little green label that you see on the packaging. First off, 2 times faster hook penetration. That's because of the Nano Alpha smooth coating on it, and also it is 4 times more corrosion resistant. Check it out, Nano Alpha.
I've been using Sunline Shooter for the majority of my career. Millions of dollars made, lots of bass caught, and the gnarly, gnarly stuff. If you need a abrasion resistant, tough fishing line for the really, really mean stuff, Sunline Shooter is for you.
Everything sound all right?
Yeah, everything sounds great. All right. We're back live, BTL on a Monday. Todd Ceisner from In-Fisherman. When I first met you, and we've talked a little bit about this on the show, but was your first foray into professional bass fishing covering that when you went and worked for Bass Fan?
Nope.
Oh, I didn't know that.
2008, Matt. I left the newspaper world and took a job as the editor of walleyefan.com, which at the time was a sibling website to Bass Fan, if you will. So I covered walleye tournaments for about 9 months.
Is that when they had?
I didn't know what a planer board was. I didn't know what a Lindy
trout
rig was.
fan, gun fan, bass fan.
There was
moose fan,
inshore fan. So
auto
that
fan.
covered the redfish tournaments. Yeah, it was part of a fan network of enthusiast websites.
Okay.
Yeah. So
I did not know you did
walleye fan. Yeah. So that was a fast burning period.
I bet you still wish you'd worked there when the weights and fish went down.
That would have got some
Walleye
clicks.
fan would have
exploded.
been a number one
Yeah.
trending
Yeah, I would have
in
been
the
on
world.
I would have been on all the morning shows,
CNN,
Yeah,
ABC,
100%.
Fox News,
Yep. So
TBN.
yeah, that was my first introduction to the tournament fishing world as a whole. And then
How'd you get that? How'd you get that job?
So as it happens, the guy who I interviewed with lived just outside of Buffalo, New York, where I was at the time. And actually, no, I take that back. I was living in State College, Pennsylvania, and answered an online ad.
Why? What
'cause
made you go? I know nothing about walleye,
Because
but I would like to be the
I was
editor
ready
of this.
I was ready to move out of the newspaper world, just because the state of that industry at that time. That was 2008. So, yeah.
But walleye?
No, I just took a flyer, dude. It was a complete flyer.
You like to fish before that?
I wouldn't say I was raised on Bassmasters and all that.
No
I grew
kidding.
up,
I didn't know that. I thought you
dude,
were like
I grew up in
obsessed
a
with this
fishing
stuff
grew up in a
forever.
fishing family, just not a fishing obsessed, with competition tournament family.
Okay.
So I knew the basics, but not to the hardcore degree that I
And how old are you now?
48.
So you were what? 30? 28, 30?
You do the math.
What year? 2008, 18,
Yeah.
20, 18 years ago?
Yeah. Yep.
38, 20. Yeah.
So yeah.
And so you went and you would follow the PWT.
PWT at the time, which was in its last years of existence,
And then
at that
ML
point.
or FLW had a
FLW
massive walleye
had a
trail,
national
right?
walleye tour, yeah. But I mean, at the time, I didn't quite realize it, but obviously the range of walleye is way smaller than the range of bass in this country. So yeah, I think corporate support obviously waned, and as a result of the recession there that was going on, and Walleye Fan closed up shop there at the end of 2008, and then I worked in a couple other industries, and then got back into the arrived back at Bass Fan in 2012, and then stayed there until 2020. So, but yeah, it's been an interesting journey, I guess, but fun. And the last 5 years at In-Fisherman has been amazing because it's such an iconic brand, and we feel like we've shaped a lot of people's knowledge and understanding on the water, whether they're fishing for catfish, bluegills, bass, sturgeon, carp, crappie, you name it. So, and we hopefully continue that on for another 50 years. As this is our 50th year at In-Fisherman 2025. So.
Congratulations on that.
Appreciate it.
In-Fisherman's an interesting brand because it is an old school brand.
For sure.
And it seems like it's tough to evolve that. I feel like you have your demographic is, this is how I've done things for 30 years, and how I'm going to continue to do things. How hard has it been to bring newer, younger anglers into In-Fisherman? Because back in the day, and it still is now, but In-Fisherman, and we've talked about this ad nauseum, it was like a rite of passage to be a member of In-Fisherman,
right?
But there's so many more options and things now,
right?
Is that something that you're trying to bring?
It's always a challenge, especially now in the digital age. Just grabbing someone's attention for more than 15 seconds, right? To get them to sit down and physically pick up a magazine and open it up and engage with it. We like any other print publication, we face that challenge, but we still believe in all the content that we put together. As folks who've known In-Fisherman over the years, can attest to, a lot of it is still based around the settled science and the studies of how these fish behave in certain, environments. And, then we, attempt to give you the roadmap to, how to, approach these fish different times a year, given the certain situations based on, the science and the field study that has gone into it, time on the water, those sorts of things. But it is a challenge to continue to engage this newer audience, which has so many other outlets at their disposal, to go learn something. So, I mean, at the end of the day, we're a teacher, just like a lot of these other outlets. And, we understand that, some some of these current models that are out there kind of mirror what In-Fisherman has done over the years. And, to a degree that's, a form of imitation, which is flattering, but obviously we still want to be among people's first stops when it comes to, hey, how do I do this? What do I need to know about how to do this? Right. So, because we're, have been the trusted source on freshwater fishing for so many years.
I do want to point this out. So you guys have a YouTube channel, and Thomas Allen is doing a however many part series it is, the greatest fishing story ever told, that goes through a lot. If you guys are looking for new content that doesn't deal with the bullshit that's been going down in the drama side of bass fishing and what he said and who's going to be able to fish with what in that, and just enjoy old school storytelling and the history of the sport with some of the pioneers in it.
So
check it out.
Yeah, we're pretty proud of that series, and we, going back to last year, and we started planning some content for our 50th anniversary year, and we were spinning up the In-Fisherman Storyline podcast. We decided we should do kind of a series, maybe a mini series, if you will, and call it the greatest fishing story ever told, which kind of we attempt to tell the story behind In-Fisherman and the impact it's had on the industry. I think there's an episode with Mark Zona. He just goes into the impact the magazine and the TV show had on his formative years in fishing. We've been fortunate to have Al Lindner come in and sit down a couple times and take us through the origins of the brand and when him and his brother Ron, started things and the ups and downs they experienced. And then, obviously we still have the man, Doug Stang. He's still our editor in chief.
Were you just fishing with him?
Actually, I did.
2 days ago.
2 days ago, out of a tiller in central Minnesota. It's kind of a storybook sort of thing, like pinch me, sort of thing. And he was the ultimate, host, guide.
Were you doing an article and stuff for that? Or
just fun fishing, just a Saturday fun fishing
way.
with Doug Stang on a couple lakes in Minnesota. So
how old is he now? 70s?
Yeah. But still sharp as a tack. Fire still burns deep and bright in that guy for, to do the work. And
how often does he fish?
It depends. I mean, he's not on the lake every day or on the water. I mean, if he's got, a TV shoot to kind of plan for, he'll be on the water to kind of maybe scout something if it's local. But largely it'll just be for our TV show, which, some shoots are local, some are, across the upper Midwest or even down into the Midwest. So, but no, that guy he's the Energizer Bunny, and absolute pleasure and honor to fish with him for a day.
Him and Larry Dahlberg are like bucket list for me.
Mm-hmm.
But if I could get on the water with Doug Stange,
right?
What would I have to do? What would I have to sell a kidney?
I don't know. No, you might not need to have surgery.
What are the odds that we could back troll for some walleye on a spinner rig with a crawler harness?
We could maybe make that happen. You may not need to get that involved. I mean, you could just cast to reefs, and for smallmouth if you want to, we could do that.
Dude, to get on the water with him would be, if you had everyone lined up, I would pick. He would be one of the top 3 guys I would pick.
So we started on Mille Lacs the other morning, and then we pulled off and we decided we're going to go to a different lake. So we roll into the McDonald's there in Garrison, Minnesota. And I'm expecting, everybody to, there's Doug Stang, there's Doug Stang. No, not a person bothered him, which was great. But
I would have bothered him.
But no, it was just, he's just a regular dude. He has no ego whatsoever, super humble, and still gets
because I thought it was awesome. A couple years ago, I had a couple extra days at Mille Lacs, and Gene Gilliland was like, "Hey, you want to come up?" And we were catching him on poppers, but Hal Schramm joined us as well too.
Oh yeah, Hal and Gene go way back.
I was just badgering him with questions at a continental breakfast before we got on the water.
Yeah, Hal's been a long time contributor to In-Fisherman and is very close with Doug as well. We chatted about him too.
But that's a cool series that's currently airing on it, and then also airing a lot of the In-Fisherman throwbacks, which aren't the entire shows, but clips from
just segments from previous shows that we know were popular with folks. A lot of the catfish, old catfish content always is popular. Still a lot of ice fishing content that people can't get enough of. A lot of pike fishing stuff that we've resurfaced. You were showing me a VHS tape earlier, and
Oh yeah, the
I was
Cincinnati
just,
Cobras 2003 history
Yep.
in the making.
Yep.
Junior, well, it's Junior A now, but it was Tier 1 Junior B when I played for it.
right. Not to make it about you, but
That's the VHS tape.
I love it. We need to get you a VCR so we can fire that up. But no, I mean, obviously, folks who remember back in the day and all the VHS tapes that In-Fisherman would produce, so we've been able to repurpose some of that content and bring it back to life because it still has some impact and value.
Yeah, I'm looking through it now. A lot of carp.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Doug. I mean, Doug would say, and he, if he was sitting here now, In-Fisherman largely kind of popularized carp as a sport fish. I think for the longest time it was thought of as a carp. I don't know. Who's going to fish for carp? They're just a bottom feeder, right? So I think we demonstrated that no, you can target them and fish for them, and they're fun as heck to catch.
Yeah, I am. I got the video pulled up now of some ferocious pike bites.
Yep.
On like, you know what?
Is that the water wolf one?
No, he's throwing. Oh, he's throwing a spinner. I thought it was a.
Mm-hmm.
I thought it kind of looked plopperish on there.
Yeah,
but it's definitely from the early '90s.
Yeah, I mean, some of the most freakishly large fish that have ever been caught on film, occurred on In-Fisherman shoots. So just, yeah.
How closely do you follow the bass fishing world these days?
I try to stay fairly plugged in. Obviously, not as, not to the live, breathe, and eat degree that I did while I was at Bass Fan, but I still try to stay plugged in because it's still relevant to a large segment of the angling crowd. But still, I was at the Classic this year. I didn't really play a whole lot of close attention to the actual competition, but shout out to the Minnesota guy.
How many multi-species anglers know who won the Classic this year? Like, if you were to take a set, this is a serious question.
No,
if you were to
if
you were to send a poll out to every current subscriber of In-Fisherman
mm-hmm.
and said, who won the Bassmaster Classic this year? What percent of In-Fisherman
readers
right. would be able to answer that without looking it up?
I think the number would be quite low because our subscriber studies in the past have indicated to us that there's not a big appetite for tournament information from our readers. They would rather learn about not just bass fishing but all the different freshwater species. So they don't wrap themselves up in the goings-ons of the tournament world. Are they interested in some of the baits and tackles and the trends? Mm-hmm. Yeah, but they are not wrapped up in the the day-to-day goings-ons.
What percent? And I had this talk with Joe Cermelli a month or two ago when I had him on when he did Field and Stream, editor of that.
Right.
But I didn't ask him this question: what percent of bass articles and shows that come out that are pumped out by In-Fisherman that have nothing to do with tournament fishing? It's just how to F plus L plus P equals success. That formula.
Well done.
What percent of those techniques that are used in In-Fisherman and then disseminated are originated in the tournament world?
I would say a fair amount, but I mean, let's rewind back to the Classic that Gussie won at Knoxville, right?
Moping.
Right. That is a classic upper Midwest technique. Like that was, he didn't break any new ground.
So there'd been articles in In-Fisherman about that style of fishing long before the Knoxville Classic.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, I think Jeff would say he wasn't breaking any new
ground.
No,
Jacob
there.
Wheeler won on Cherokee.
Right.
In the Elite Series, doing the exact same thing.
Exactly. So, yeah, I mean, we'll quote tournament anglers in stories, just to, tap into their brain and their expertise on these topics. Just because if it's a bass story, those are the guys that are on the water every day, trying different things or perfecting things. But, to your original question about the audience, we just don't bombard them with a ton of tournament like related news and things like that.
But then will you like have an article or TV show on, let's say, the dice? That's becoming a thing. Like that's obviously a thing. You have a lot of northern viewers with smallmouth.
We may, obviously on the TV side, we're, we kind of try to cater to certain sponsors and that. So if those companies develop products like that, then we may go down that road. You'd probably be more apt to see an article about that trend than you would on the TV show right now. So
is it difficult in 2025 to try to get people to learn and become better anglers through the written word with as much content as available on video, on demand and for free?
I would say yes. I mean, you and I, we've got our phones, handy. We're always, everybody's sending links to Instagram or YouTube videos. I mean, I don't say an uphill climb, but it's a competition now with all the digital content that's out there. Video seems to move people. Video seems to be way more influential now than the written word. I'll leave it at that. Yeah, I
would think, and this is just me. And like I said, we did the In-Fisherman challenge with Matt Steffen, so we're both speaking from a standpoint of nostalgia. Mm-hmm. But I would feel like the actual print publication of In-Fisherman has a lot more staying power than some of the other fishing magazines because of how long it's been around.
Right. And the model, the formula has never really wavered on it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like I said, it's the science based focused angles on a lot of these things. And we'll have, some experiential pieces every now and then, but we're largely focused on the science of the fisheries and the fish and how that can inform you as an angler. So in the real world scenarios.
I gotta show the picture. I haven't seen the picture yet.
Oh, do you want me to open it up for you?
It. Yeah.
You gotta show this.
So if you guys didn't know, we did a master angler quest with Matt Steffen earlier this year. Our lofty goal was 4 species in 4 days. We were 1/4 inch short on the hybrid striper. We were 1/2 inch short on the white bass.
Yeah.
Steffen hooked the 24-inch largemouth and it owned him, like owned him. And we both, like, in the nick of time, nabbed a master angler crappie. It is all chronicled and documented on Matt Steffen's YouTube channel. You can do the master angler quest, and then it also is accompanied with BTL shows that we did every night and morning, where we drove 1,300 miles in 72 hours to try to achieve this quest.
So what you're saying is I had to pay for all the gas on this frog hunt to pay you back for part of that quest.
No, we have decided we get more requests to do more In-Fisherman master angler quests than anything. Like at the classic, I still probably get 3 or 4 DMs a month of guys like, when are you going to do that again?
Right.
Steffen will call me and be like, dude, like I was just, just at the
hybrids are biting over
tournament and the people, I've got a catalog this long of guys who are like, I'm put you on the master angler flathead, put you on the master angler tiger muskie.
That's awesome. So in the July issue, which is just about to drop, I know a guy, I get an advanced copy. We have the complete 2024 recap in the July issue. And your esteemed host here wound up getting his photo on page 56 here, the recap. So there you go, man.
Dude, this is can I keep this copy or is
yeah.
This is going from I may take down all of this and just have this in here. This is a career highlight for me.
Look at that.
There it is in the bottom corner.
And wearing the In-Fish hat, no less, right? The old bumblebee.
I am super pumped on that. I mean, this brings me back to when I'm 12 years old. I'm looking for the region. I'm looking for how big it is, what it's caught on. I love in here that there's smallmouth bass. Like, this is why I love In-Fisherman. These are the baits that the In-Fisherman master angler smallmouth bass were caught on. Yep. Number 1, David Terrell caught his on a night crawler.
There you go.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that
Well,
dude.
and first of all, I mean, it's a night crawler, but like, first of all, he was willing to give up. He was willing to disclose what he caught it on, right?
Yeah.
Like, folks you and I deal with on a regular basis, they're not going to give up what they caught a 20 plus.
But he caught a 20-inch smallmouth out of mash pea, wake pea. Look at the name on the top right there.
David Terrell is a frequent contributor across several species categories.
But I'm just saying, like, when you're
years,
floating a crawler out there, you don't know what's going to grab it.
Yep.
So when a 20-inch smallmouth comes up on the night crawler, that's got to be a thrill.
Yeah.
Like, read some of those other baits. Just a plethora. It's not just like drop shot, minnow, drop shot. It's like all across the board.
Yeah, I mean, you got a Rebel Popper, you've got a Z-Man Micro Jig, and a Mr. Twister Trailer. There's a combo for you, right?
That's Midwest.
You got jigs, a flicker shad, jig and pig, power bait.
It says pig.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Live alewife.
That guy's over 60 who submitted that.
Tube jig, a still worm. I'm not quite sure what a still worm is, but
is that a Ned?
Might be. Yeah. St. Joseph River, Michigan.
What does mine say?
Let me see. Let me find you. Matt Steffen.
That's
Matt Pangrack. Here we go. Soft plastic minnow.
Yeah. That's what we caught it on. With the old jig head.
I mean, yeah, I was back to my
was I supposed to be more
bass
specific?
fan days? That's basically an unnamed minnow, right? Unnamed, unbranded minnow. Whereas Stefan, Great Lakes Finesse, drop shot minnow. He basically gave up all the goods there.
Yeah.
So
no, is a secret, because that's a big,
it's such minnow. A cool program that we have, because it's and you, as you learn this, you can't go out and plan to catch these size fish, right?
Yeah.
Like
you can. It just
right.
You can't.
Right.
It just doesn't ever work.
This recognition program is let's see, 24. So 25 is going to be the 50th year of it. And it's just a cool way to recognize people's trophy catches across 27 different fish species categories. So we cover the entire freshwater spectrum.
Mm-hmm.
And we have different length thresholds for different regions of the country, depending on where you're at. And, we have a verification system that, there's a human element to it. We're going to judge the fish. We ask people to put them on a measuring device when they send them the picture. But like I said, you don't know when you're going to catch these fish. You might be on the bank of your favorite little creek or river, and suddenly this fish of a lifetime shows up. So, but yeah, it's been such a cool way to recognize folks and their catches, just everyday people out there catching big fish. And from smallmouth to red ear. And my goal as a stat nerd from back in my newspaper days would be to, like, all right, we've got all this data from all these years. Some of it's still in paper form in bankers boxes in the basement of the In-Fish office
from like the early days.
Some of it's on a CD-ROM in like some Unix database format that I don't even know if I'm gonna be able to open those files.
Oh, there's got to be someone who knows how to do that.
How cool would it be to have like the Master Angler master database, which would then tell you over the years, what kind of baits have caught.
Dude, that needs to be a whole episode. That needs to be a whole issue.
This could be a year-long project. I fear.
I know, but that needs to be a whole issue where then you interview the guys, if they're still alive, who have the biggest master anglers or some of the coolest stories of it, or have them on, on the In-Fisherman channel.
The possibilities are kind of endless, but I want to wrap my arms around all that data first of all, and try to get it all in one place. So.
Off the top of your head, do you have any idea of what like the most impressive fish that in any species that's been turned? Have you ever had like world records and state records turned in for master anglers?
I think we've had some state records. I don't know anything off the top of my head or specific, just because people don't. And I'm sure there's state records that haven't been turned in, you know, and I'm here to put out the clarion call for folks to be like, hey, if you catch grab the latest copy of In-Fisherman. We'll have the map and all the threshold links, the length thresholds in there. And, next time out, if you happen to catch one that may approach these sizes, by all means, send it in. It's free to enter. And, there you go.
Literally.
Yeah. And then, next year, we some swag at the end of the year and, win a prize. We'll send. And here's the other thing too. Did you get your Master Angler certificate and your patch? in the mail?
I don't know why. I know we lost connection. We just lost connection to my camera.
Oh no.
That makes no sense. As to why I would have lost connection to the camera. Okay. We have no camera for the end of the show.
No?
I have no idea. The camera literally just went dead. We haven't touched anything.
No, I didn't kick anything. Didn't step in anything.
We're an hour in and we have to go drive and do a frog hunt.
Yeah.
Huh.
I mean, dude, I could sit here and talk fishing with you all day. This is great.
Well, we're gonna do it again tomorrow evening. You're not flying out till Wednesday.
Right.
So
yeah, we'll have a post frog hunt recap, I imagine.
Yeah, I know we're totally on audio here, but we're an hour into the show. So
That's
instead
fine.
of freaking out and stopping it and everything, we'll just wrap the show up.
Sounds good to me, man.
All right.
This has been great.
Todd, I appreciate it. Yeah, we've got an epic adventure ahead of us for the day with Steve Bowman. I have no idea how that's going to go down.
Yep.
This is old school days with just the audio. I reached across. Did I bump anything
I don't think
when I
you touched
reached
anything.
across?
No.
I've got a thing here
No.
that says start. Oh my gosh, we're back. Here's what I did when I reached across. I accidentally hit the camera.
Turned it off.
Nah, I hit my finger on it and it was down on the
I
camera.
gotcha.
So we're back. So we're going to
All
go live for another 2.5 hours. No, I'm just kidding. We really do have to
You're
get
just
to
live from the
Arkansas.
road. Just
What I was reaching across, which was funny, is the classic bass lures revisited.
Yep.
I literally have that. Now, this is like a little older. It's
Right.
like my dad got it for me on the muskie, but I literally have that lure that's right there
Yep.
in the studio here. We should be back with everything.
the Arbogast jitterbug there.
Yeah,
Right?
the Arbogast jitterbug.
Hall of Famer Fred Arbogast.
Frog hunting
Yep.
with Steve Bowman. I'm very curious to see how this goes down like we started the beginning of the show. This is something he does annually. I know.
Well, he fancies himself as a frog fishing. Is there a frog fishing Hall of Fame in Arkansas? If
I
there
think
is,
he's in the Arkansas
probably-
Outdoor Hall of Fame.
Yeah, there's no question.
If
about that.
if you can kill it and it lives in nature, he's in that Hall of Fame in
Right.
Arkansas. Ducks, fish.
No, I think I do recall there's some sort of, it would be like the version of an Angler of the Year award for frog hunters, and I think he owns at least one of those awards.
So last year,
At least that's what was in the auction description.
the husband and wife who bought it, I've met them in Minnesota. Great couple, big supporter of it. Did he send you the picture?
He did not.
Do you want to see what we're about to get into? This
Please.
is
Yes.
last year's hunt that he gave away, and I'm sure he's going to do it again in the auction. Are you ready for that? Look at that.
Oh my gosh. Well, and here's the thing. And Steve, I mean, you and I are going to be experiencing a whole new era, I think, of frog fishing in Arkansas because, as Steve explained to me, they've changed the season.
Yes.
The season used to start April 15th, and now it starts June 1st, which is what, yesterday? So Steve is going to be kind of learning with us, like how this later start to the season
See,
is going to
April
change
15th
things.
seems super early for
For sure.
bullfrogs to be out.
Right. He's a little,
Is he freaking out?
no, but
We're
he's a little,
we're gonna have to find him.
Yeah,
It's not
he's-
like we're
he's-
gonna go straight out. It's not like we're out there with Travis
grumpy,
Manson on
right.
Ontario where he's like, there's 7 on this rock
Right,
pile. Like we
yeah.
might have to make a couple.
he's a little grumpy about it, but we'll adjust. So
Yeah.
But no, I'm super psyched.
Is this a deal where I want to keep some, but like tomorrow night when we get back, should we have like the batter and stuff and like do it up?
That's a great question. Yeah, these are all questions we need answers.
You like eating them, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you hesitated.
Oh no, we're gonna plow through a bunch.
Okay.
I can do like frog legs, po' boys. Like I don't know how you just munch on them. Like I don't know.
mean, I've got
do you
a
have any anybody in the chat that has any suggestions?
griddle out there that I
I
just
saw that.
seasoned.
Yeah.
Black after the show, I need to show you. I seasoned it 6 times. Does anybody
We need some
anybody
frog leg recipe
on the Blackstone griddle know how to get the corners seasoned without a blowtorch?
Ooh. Blowtorch seems like a good approach though.
It is. That's what the interwebs said.
I can't think of
Also
an alternative that
subscribe
would
to-
be better.
Griddling Today magazine.
The Ingriddleman.
Dude, you want to talk about like sometimes I wonder like the fishing influencers and
Mhm.
stuff like that, like the posts and videos and stuff. Do people actually like buy stuff from that? I know they do.
Oh,
because I buy the griddle crap.
Yeah.
And the smoking stuff. And like, there's like a couple dudes, most of them are like 30, 35. They've got a young family. It's immaculate outside. They've got either, their Blackstone or their smoker or something. And I'll be like,
their outdoor kitchen's worth more than their indoor kitchen.
Yeah. I'm like, I like that accessory. And then I will literally go purchase that accessory. It's the same thing the average bass fisherman does with fishing.
Oh, yeah.
So it's effective because I
it's
wouldn't
like
even
organizing tackle. Like somebody maybe just, there's always a better solution around the corner, right? You just haven't been exposed to it, you know?
Yeah.
No, I'm that way too with the grills and smoker stuff.
I mean, I've got, what do I have? I have the charcoal because Blake Schroeder, who I room with in the opens, like he is a charcoal guy through and through. And he's sold me over the past year and a half. There's just some stuff that is better on a bed of coals.
Yep.
And then I've got the primary smoker.
You got the Traeger out there, and then you got the new Blackstone.
And then I got the Traeger and the new Blackstone.
Yeah.
Now,
then there's a little tabletop deal out there I saw.
Yeah, so
Need some TLC.
I won that Pit Boss at the Outdoor Brand Team Riders event for having like big bass.
Oh, seems to be a trend with you.
Did not know what seasoning a griddle was.
Yeah, it looked
went out, cooked bacon and eggs, stuck them to the freaking thing. And then just left it there because I was like, I'll clean it later. And now it is Rust City.
And that was 3 years ago.
Yeah. It was. So,
well, there's a video for that. I'm sure you could restore it. So,
all right.
Anyway, this has been a blast, Matt. Let's go kill some frogs.
You gotta, if you don't subscribe and follow BTL on YouTube, I do this like once every couple months. You're just lucky enough to be sitting here when I do it.
Love it.
We will not be live at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow, but there will be a live BTL tomorrow with Todd. We'll recap our show, maybe have Bowman jump on, etc. In the afternoon, evening sometime. Ton of rain, ton of stuff here. I have to do my homework, make some calls to see if there's anywhere we can get on the water. I mean, depends on how late tonight gets, on how early we get back, but we will do a BTL recapping it. Also, big shout out to Ish, who won the BAM out on the West Coast.
Oh, did he? Good for him.
So Upshaw and I go down to Mexico and get the individual gold, and then the team gold, and then Ish wins. So we do the Open Pros pick 'em next week. So we do have, I think we do have a weekend here. So Todd better get on it. Castledine. We got to do a show where we all four of us have won something.
Where is the next Open?
Well, he's not fishing the Opens.
Oh, okay.
He just fishes around Rayburn and Toledo Bend right now. The next Open's on Leech in August.
Gotcha.
That'll be a fun one. See, I'm multi-species. There's a Babe Winkleman.
I see that.
I got that. I waited in line 45 minutes at the Decatur Civic Center when I was 12 years old to get that lake trout picture autographed by Babe Winkleman.
He's still kicking around Brainerd. Yeah, he's still up there.
I see him every once in a while at like a sporting event. He's usually like sitting in a corner now, though. He's just like sitting there getting his appearance fee.
Yeah, another one of the legends. So.
Dude, that dude is a legend.
Yep.
Some great Babe Winkleman stories floating around out there. Have I ever told you about the time I was also out with Gene Gilliland, I think? Yeah. And we were bouncing around little lakes around Mille Lacs while they were doing the Angler of the Year stuff.
Okay.
And we're on the water. Yeah, it was Gene. We're on the water, and I keep like hearing this voice, and I cannot put a name to the voice, but it is like a voice that that I know. And it's this little lake, and we're the only two boats on the lake. And I'm like, how do I know that guy? Like, you could hear it drifting across. It was freaking Babe Winkleman. And I lost my mind. When we got back there, he was walleye fishing out on the rock piles.
Was he filming, I imagine?
And he was filming, and he was talking, but he was sitting down on the seat and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I would always do Charlie's fish recipes when I was younger. Just destroy the kitchen. Let's take it over to Charlie in the corner. What was it called? Charlie's Corner or something?
I think so. Yeah. Again, before my time.
Yeah. And he got Lyme disease, didn't he?
Babe?
Yeah.
I'm not sure.
I think Babe is kind of champion the Lyme disease deal. Got it really bad.
That's always one of my fears.
I
don't do ticks either. Yeah, I'm a little queasy on that shit. So
I think everything's in Arkansas. I think you've got
Oh, yeah,
poisonous,
I'm
non-poisonous,
I'm-
raccoons, possums,
Yeah.
skunks. Like you've got everything. The
Well, I
only
could
thing that you
outrun those.
don't have is gators.
Yeah.
I don't think there's gators. Because when I went out frogging with, we went frogging and just general tomfoolery with the Cajun baby and Pierre Part,
Mhm.
which I thought he did when we did that. Like I thought that was a regular thing
part of that culture
until
yeah.
like one of his buddies rolled by and be like, "The hell you doing out at night? You crazy?" And I was like, wait a second. I thought this was like, he's like, "Oh, we're just tooling around," and we would like grab the gators and frogs and stuff. So
Yeah. So did you lie to me now? You've done this before?
I have grabbed a couple frogs
Okay.
before, but I have never like gone out with like Cliff and I went out
The
with the
explicit
intent to
Intent.
molest nature.
Gotcha.
Like we just wanted to catch stuff in the water. So
I
like,
gotcha.
Gators that big, frogs we didn't kill, we didn't hurt anything.
Right. Okay.
We did it for an In the House episode
Gotcha.
of BTL back in the day.
In the house. Resurrect that.
All right, I'm glad we got the video back. All right, we're gonna wrap it up from here. Todd Ceisner, appreciate it. Looking forward to it. I'm sorry you had to Uber. How was the Uber ride?
It was
Pretty chill?
fantastic. Yeah, the gentleman was great. We had great conversation. An army vet of 8 years. Yeah, good guy from Oklahoma City. Big Thunder fan. So he's pumped for what's about the finals coming up.
I
So
haven't watched a minute yet. Is that bad?
it's gonna be good finals, I think. Yeah.
Who is it?
Oklahoma City and Indiana.
Oh
So,
wow.
Yeah, it'll be a good time.
Is Reggie still playing for Indiana?
No, but he's on
Here.
he was on the broadcast team for TNT. So
okay.
yeah. But yeah, need to see a couple different teams in the finals.
You want to talk about coverage that Shaq and Charles
Inside the NBA show?
Dude,
yeah.
so where are they
the
moving
BTL
to?
of the NBA. So
Yeah, it's not that dynamic that they have on that group
you
is
can't beat it. Right.
It's phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I don't watch basketball,
Right.
as you can tell.
Right.
But I do watch hockey. Who you got in the finals? You got
Edmonton.
You got
All in.
Edmonton?
Yeah.
Edmonton for the first cup since they won one after the Gretzky
Right.
trade, but
Yep.
for the first cup since what, 91 or 80, 91 or 90?
I think that's right. Yeah.
Because didn't
and-
Messier win one a year after Gretzky left, and then he went to New York and won one in 93,
94.
94, but
Yeah.
Gretzky made the finals with
So
LA in 93.
There's not been a Canadian team win the cup since the Canadians in 93. Montreal won it in 93. And then, the Rangers the following year. But yeah,
That was Patrick Waugh in net
it was.
for that 93.
Yep. Yeah, they beat the Kings.
Yeah, that was the Gretzky. I remember
Gretzky's
that
Kings,
because we did not have cable, but my next door neighbor Betty had
Mhm.
cable, and I was a Gretzky freak.
Oh,
And
yeah.
every game, I would go over to Betty's and
Yep.
drink a Coke with my dad, and she'd let us watch the game because she paid for cable. We had the little bunny ears,
Oh, yeah.
and it was on I think
Same here.
ESPN2 back then.
We had a rotary antenna attached to our chimney for our fireplace. And if we turned it a certain way, we could get some of the Canadian channels, but largely, I grew up still am a tortured Buffalo Sabres fan. So
Yes.
we haven't seen the playoffs. So my son's 14. He hasn't seen a playoff hockey game for the Sabres in his lifetime yet. So
They have a daughter who played hockey too or plays,
yeah, she played through high school and some travel
and your
stuff.
son plays.
He plays like just local house, like
Yeah.
nothing like crazy serious.
Yeah.
That's a whole nother episode. Youth sports. Yeah.
Oh, trust me. Juice from Juice's Jigs. He
Yeah.
was just down at a 6-year-old flag football tournament at Jerry World.
No kidding.
Like they played on the field. Andrew's at a football camp right now with his like 10-year-old.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I mean,
It's insane.
Yeah.
And then there's a pro bass camp going on with Kurt Dove down at Amistad.
yep. So
High end. Like
but
you
yeah,
have to
Oilers,
specialize.
Oilers
now.
in 6. That'll be my
Oilers in 6.
Mark it
Who gets the what is it? The Conn Smythe?
Yeah, the MVP.
You going
I mean,
McDavid?
it has to be. It's got. I mean, McDavid or Draisaitl. Those two are the engines of that team, obviously. But, yeah. I mean, McDavid is unlike anything I've ever seen before on the ice.
I've never
But
seen him in person. I actually went. Blake has tickets to the Stars games and has invited me because he knows played hockey and
Mhm.
stuff. We went to Game 6 when they closed out Hellebuck and the Jets,
Nice.
which was like super cool because it was like an overtime win
Yeah.
and a series win.
at home.
But
right.
like the one guy that I like really root for is Hellebuck. He got I think his brother fishes the opens. He's big time in fishing. Like every helmet that he has some sort of element of bass or him with his PB. Like, have you seen that one where he's holding up that largemouth and it's very clearly a northern strain largemouth on the side of his helmet?
Yeah.
Like, it's hard to root against that guy.
100%. Yeah.
And he's the best goalie in the world. And then, you know, with that, what they went through at the Four Nations and then this for the second year in a row and his struggles on the road. Like I would not have been like devastated because I'm a Blues fan and they got eliminated because it would have been Blue Stars. And Blake's like, yeah, you're not sitting with us. Like, you're not coming to a game if the Blues do it.
No, I saw McDavid play twice in person in his junior career because he played in Erie, which is an hour and 20 minutes, you know, south of Buffalo. But it was also at a time where the Sabres were willingly tanking to position themselves to win that lottery that year. They finished last in the league and then wound up losing the lottery to Edmonton, which allowed Edmonton to draft McDavid, and the Sabres wound up with Jack Eichel. So, which, you know, as you look back, kind of changed the course of both franchises. So,
I'm trying to figure out. Yeah, I'm gonna go. I just was making sure he was healthy and good to go. I think in a shocking turn of events, I think it's Oilers in 6, but Stuart Skinner gets the Conn Smythe, and the Oilers, whose Achilles heel has been their inconsistent goaltending.
Yeah. Well, I think earlier in the playoffs, like, he got yanked in favor of Calvin Pickard, and then Pickard got hurt, so Skinner had to go back in, and he's played lights out since. Yeah.
So I think that's what I think is going to happen. Have you also noticed Brad Marchand is not as annoying with a Panthers jersey on?
Yeah, he just doesn't have that role. I mean, he's kind of a third line, fourth line guy.
Like I hated him in Boston. Like he was, I mean, like, you know, licking people, poking guys, you know, when he hit him in the head. Like but for some reason, he's actually likable in a Panthers jersey, which is shocking.
Because he's kind of one of the elder guys now in that locker room. And
a lot of hockey guys, especially those Canadian dudes, farm country up there that play juniors, big time fishermen. Love bass fishing. And pike fishing and muskie fishing and stuff like that. I
mean, you remember Dustin Bufflin? He played for the Jets. He played for a few teams. I mean,
Nolan has a show.
Him and Gussie are tight. Like, they fish a lot. Bufflin fishes the Sturgeon Bay Open every spring.
Yeah,
the smallmouth gig.
Who's Blackhawks? Buddies with Mercer, had the cup on Mercer show, fished the Opens. Brian Bickle. Yep. Big time fisherman. Obviously Hellebuck.
Yep. So,
holy cow. I just got a message. The Canadian team that we crossed the border with, they're almost to Louisville, Kentucky right now. Dude, like they drove like 39, 40 hours, had to cross 4 borders, entire countries. A couple of them had single axles too.
Wow. That is a journey.
Yeah.
That's a long way to go to get beat.
They got a medal.
They did?
Yeah, they medaled. They got 3rd.
Oh, I thought you said you guys swept the top 5 spots.
An individual, but that's side. Like the whole thing is to go and get a team. I mean, there was I think there were 8 teams there, so they got the medal.
Okay.
Going home with some hardware.
There you go.
We'll talk about that more in the future. That was a once in a lifetime opportunity. I mean,
I'm anxious to hear more about it. I know we got 4 hours ahead of us on the road.
Well, here, real quick, and I just want to say this before.
Don't give it away though.
Well, no, I knew when I said yes to this that there were going to be people that said, "How in the hell is Matt Pangrac on Team USA inside job?"
Well, I think you've already gotten some of that feedback, haven't you?
Yeah. I 100% agree, because the first thing I did was say, okay, like, why have you got, like, what do I not know that everyone else that you asked before me has said no? Right?
Yeah.
Because we're talking about the team, you know, DC, Wheeler, like, guys are on this team.
Yeah, hey, if you're gonna pick an Olympic team for bass fishing for USA, who's on that team? Right, that's a whole nother show for you.
But it was like the perfect storm of, you know, Scott leaving the Elite Series and the NPFL having a tournament that was just getting over, and the next day practice starting for Major League Fishing event and all that. And then they had teams that backed out. And then it also involved, like, it was a pain in the ass in 2 weeks to figure out how to get my boat and truck into Mexico legally with coverage on it.
Right.
So I got asked, which I said, like, I called Jacob Wheeler straight up and I was like, what am I missing here? Like, he's like, you know, Wheeler, he's like, I don't know, just do it, big dog. And I was like, there's no like catch to it. Like, this isn't. And he's like, no. And I mean, I was honored with it, even though I knew I had to be the 800th option.
Right.
But in all honesty, I also, the way we caught him, I had the most experience out of anybody probably on earth, big minnowing in Mexico.
Yeah.
Like, there's no one else that's probably done it more than me because I have done it before.
Yeah.
And it
I
worked out absolutely perfect.
I remember when you called me because we had to adjust the dates on this frog hunt to accommodate that trip. And I think you said to me, I have to do this, right? Yeah, 100%. Yeah, you have to go do this.
And Andrew was kind of the same way. You know, like, he got on, like, we were kind of we were like okay, we've got 5 teams, because you have to have 5 teams that count for points. Like, a lot of other teams had 8 teams, 7 teams, and they could drop their lowest ones.
Sure.
If I got the call to represent Team USA on USA Bass, wear the jersey, go to another country and fish, I'm doing it.
Right.
I don't care what anyone else says. Yeah. I'm representing the country and I'm doing the best that I can.
Yeah. And
screw them.
Yeah, you can't really do much better than you did, man.
Yeah. So to go down and to do 31 and 37 with one almost 10 and win it, like, pretty damn proud. There'll be a bunch of shows on it. Someone asked if it was going to be on TV. I know Andrew Upshaw is doing 2 shows on Let's Fish TV on it, and then obviously it'll be out on all of Scott's stuff. So
right.
But it was fun. I got a lot. It was the first time. This should be off air, but we'll get deep in the weeds. So it was the first time that I had really interacted with Trey McKinney.
Okay.
And I haven't had him on the show. I've been a little leery about it. Like, you know, the blowing no wakes and his mom calling him and things like that. And the run in with Swindle, but he's obviously, like, very talented. And I just hadn't talked to him. He's a likable dude. And he's freaking at the top level, running around the country like this at 19 and 20 years old. Like, no way in hell could I take an F-350 dually and a $130,000 bass boat into Mexico by myself when I was 19.
Right.
Like, that thought wouldn't even cross my mind. It's really impressive what he does.
Yeah.
And he'll get more mature and he'll get better, but, like, super confident. Right. He was super cool to hang out with. Like, both him and JT, they actually split him up and fish with different guys and stuff. But like I was so literally.
Was there a team? Guy. Was there a captain? How does that work?
Yeah. So Scott's like the captain of the team.
Sure.
And then Mark is like the president, I think, of like USA Angling.
Okay.
So there were like 5 teams, and then we kind of like fished with each other for some of the time based on who had figured it out, and then we like share information during the tournament. But it was really cool. It was really impressive to watch. There's like no information on this place other than they'd been there 6 years ago when it was like 15 foot of water. It was really interesting to watch, like, JT and Trey and Cifuentes and Scott and Canterbury, how we all like, and then me and Upshaw and Mark, like, how all of the different teams kind of went about like breaking down the water.
Kind of sounds like what MLF like originally aimed at doing, right? Just drop people on a body of water, not tell them about it.
Yeah.
And limit the information and
because so like Mark and Dale, who's with Gamma, also fish it. A big shout out to Dale Black from Gamma. He was under my truck. We're getting into the show. I don't need to be getting it. Basically, I made it 10 feet into Mexico, and dang it, Looney doesn't even know about this yet from Bass Cat. Basically, I made it 10 feet into Mexico and got stuck on a pole at customs and torqued my axle.
Oh.
10 feet into Mexico after I've towed
not even like probably through the toll booth, probably, right? It was like,
no, it's not the toll booth. It is customs. Like,
the barrier.
I literally made it not even the length of my boat and truck into Mexico before my trailer was inoperable, like could not drive it. Like one wheel was like this and one wheel was like this. It was just the start of the nightmare. That was the 7 hours at the border.
It was all uphill from there.
But anyway, long story short, Dale on the ground till like 2 a.m. before
Dale.
we headed back, getting that thing fixed. It was really cool though, dude. Trey and JT are freaking good.
Oh yeah.
Like the way they break down water and they're just young. They're like, like Andrew and I were working on tackle and I stood up one time and went, oh, because my knees had locked up and they both looked at us and were like, you guys are old.
You guys are old. Yeah. That's funny.
And then like I had never hung out with like Joey Cifuentes or Josh Weaver either.
Okay.
And they're both like,
Joey
borrowed at the pre-tournament meeting thing, borrowed a guitar from Turtle Island.
Okay.
Which is a tribe in Canada that fish as its own country. All super nice guys.
I was going to ask where that team was from because I saw
they're on Ontario.
The results. I'd never heard of this.
Yeah.
Before. Okay.
Ironically, on day 2, all of Turtle Island's boats ended up fishing an island. They were surrounded at island because you can fish within 50 yards of each other.
Hey Matt, let's go frog hunting.
Oh, you're getting antsy, aren't you?
A little bit.
It's almost 10. What time are we supposed to be there?
We didn't really give them a time, but we got a journey ahead of us here. So
all right, sorry.
You got to pack.
You're shutting down the BTO show.
Oh, I'm not saying shut it down, but I figured you want to get it going here.
All right, this has been another edition of BTO. We'll be live tomorrow, and then we'll be back with the Mexico recap. Day 4 on Thursday. Frank Scalish with his Ohio Hall of Fame induction. This In-Fisherman is going on the wall. We'll talk to everyone later. See ya.